One of the first experiences I have had during my first spiritual awakening was a psychic reading by a reader on a Facebook group. I no longer use Facebook, that was probably back in 2017. I was in a few free reading groups and this guy did a reading on me and it was one of the first times someone saw directly into my soul. Even though it was still the void reality slave the name, it is how I call it, being displayed in the prism which does not reflect me, that is the void reality body as the profile picture. And you know, if people saw that they probably wouldn't be able to tell what is within because the void reality body, name, and circumstances do not reflect me and are in dissonance with who I am, but he saw beyond that. He saw the soul that was caged within that abomination, forced to live a life that is the opposite of what I am. Anyways, one thing that he said that really made an impact was something about me being freed from the wheel of samsara. He then went on to explain that it meant the wheel of reincarnation and karma. I don't believe in karma, and basically the fate system that keeps souls enslaved and trapped in a human condition without being able to choose their lives, at the mercy of circumstance, basically. That's why people don't believe there's any meaning and that they are helpless and that life is happening quote-unquote to them, because they don't listen to their intuition, heart, and soul, which is where the answer to all things and all power resides, on the inside, and think they are placed randomly, because they gave their power away to an external system that isn't even real, either to chance, to the material, or to a false external god. Do you know how humans are afraid of life and always fear bad things, and hypotheticals because they think life happens to them and some external force is responsible for it? Like, when they pose hypotheticals, like for example if you could only have sex or food for the rest of your life, which one would you pick? Or, like, if you had a gun pointed to your head and you had to choose between saving your cat or your dog or if your house caught on fire and other bullshit like that. Or that if in the next life I reincarnate as a frog. Shit like that, you know what I mean. They're constantly in fear and feeling like they have to be constantly bargaining with fate and life because they are afraid of bad things happening. They think they are their bodies and are trapped in constant fear of suddenly, I don't know, being paralyzed, or their loved ones dying. It's really sad to see. They think life could suddenly change who they are and that they are not in control of themselves. They think they don't have the answers within and give up their power to the external, for example society, science, markets, world events, religion. They think there's something wrong with them, when what's wrong is that they are not being them. Told they should feel insignificant. Told they're not the center of the world. Told we shouldn't think for ourselves. Told not to listen to our intuition and heart. Told they should seek help and need therapy. When there is something wrong in their lives and they are unsatisfied, they are told that the problem is with them, that is supposedly a chemical imbalance, that they should conform to their circumstances and accept their powerlessness and to grin and bear it. When in truth we shouldn't accept any reality that is not up to standard and that we are all powerful and limitless. Neville tells us how the cause of all our suffering is not being aware we are the ones creating life and thinking we are at the mercy of circumstance. You know how we love reading tragic fictional stories, and watching horror movies, and stuff. You know, they are fun. There is some reward in exercising creativity and writing those novels or film scripts, but that's where all tragedy should remain. In fiction. We shouldn't have to live it if we don't want to. If it is a story that does not reflect us and does not appeal to us in the slightest, we shouldn't live it. There's a quote I really like that goes, man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. The moment we think we are trapped in a horrible scenario and that's what reality is, then it really stops being fun. It's what Neville refers to as misusing imagination. We should take back the pen and paper and write our own stories and paint the canvas of life with whatever colors we want, for we have access to all of creation in our imagination and it is our birthright, as God, to live whatever life we desire. Everything is just you creating and the world gives an illusion that there are other explanations that follow its pretend logic, but it is actually just you. Your imaginal act is the cause of everything. It might seem like there's another cause, an event that happened before you were born, or some scientific or linear explanation, but that is not true. You are the cause. If it takes one person or 10,000 to aid the birth of your assumption, they will come. Also, the butterfly effect is fake. No one can interfere with your life. Everyone has their own world and has access to all of creation in imagination and can select anything they prefer, by conscious creation, control their imagination. and all souls are eventually going to awaken and realize they are God, their own gods. It's all you, and only you. This void reality is just a nightmare I created when I gave my power away to what I fear and hate. There's a quote that chaos magicians use a lot: nothing is true. Everything is permitted. I would use the word real instead of true there. But it is basically saying that there are no rules, reality functions as you think and assume it does, and as you change, so does reality. You get to set the rules, parameters, and truths. That there isn't a universal system, truth, set of moral values or external causation, and how we are the main characters of our lives. I believe everyone has their personal truth and should live a life that honors it, and follow their internal guidance to live a life that most fulfills and reflects their desires and inner truths. As you become aware the world is dead and just a shadow of what you are feeding your mind, you realize you shouldn't need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders or feel burdened by it or feel any guilt. Creation is finished. Any scenario exists in imagination. Entire worlds filled with famine and war and conflict. The Middle Ages are happening right now somewhere. The only duty you have is to yourself. Not to people you have nothing to do with and you don't even like. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. You only have the illusion of helping others anyway. People only help others for themselves. Because it means something to them. It makes them feel good. I have been misfortunate enough to experience some of the worst circumstances this earth has to offer in the void reality, surrounded by the most detestable people imaginable. But these circumstances and people could never touch me. I am actually a very generous and loving person. Just no one in the void reality, that I know personally, deserves it. I know it will feel great to be surrounded by my people in my desired reality and that I will love helping them out and stuff. Because they are people that I actually like and resonate with and chose. You are told to be grateful and that it could be worse. Not in the case of the void reality, it couldn't. If it had been any worse, I actually would have lost my mind. It only showed me how even when my worst nightmares and fears came true, I could never lose myself. I experienced a lot of suffering and challenges that propelled me towards awakening and to find myself. The surroundings and circumstances in the void reality are the opposite of what I am, and there's no life for me in it, and in a way, it had to be that bad so I wouldn't get lost in the drama of society and the external world or think I am at the mercy of circumstance. I'm not. By facing my little personal hell, in a culture and place I don't belong in, living a life that doesn't reflect me, abusive caretakers, basically being away from home and my people, and not living at all, not even existing. Not seeing myself in anything around me, and how this couldn't be my life, I had no choice but to turn inwards and begin to appreciate and value myself and awaken spiritually and find my true self and that I am what I am not because of biological/scientific/material, nature or nurture, but because of what I am at my core, at the essence of my being, in spirit and energy. And that this projection from other people and circumstances is not who I am. In a way it had to be that bad for me to learn that I can overcome anything. Find my inner power, awaken spiritually, strengthen my individuality. I had a reading once that said I'm incapable of being conditioned and other that said social conditioning didn't work on me. I love that, destroy what doesn't serve me, and build whatever I want, write my own story from scratch. Yeah, if things had been even remotely acceptable, I would have probably compromised and played small, and not know what to do with myself and think I had to find my place in the world, when actually I can create it. And, I would probably not have had the answers to life's questions, would probably have been overwhelmed by society, politics, and think I was insignificant and that life was happening to me. I would have probably not awakened spiritually. Basically, in the void reality I am surrounded by such an ugly environment, by a people, society who I don't share any values, worldviews or type of thinking with, and who quite frankly I have no respect for. It forced me to grow in confidence and self-esteem, on account of the outside being so shit. I had to acknowledge that me being the opposite of that, means that I am quite alright. Actually, I am glad I broke away from materialism and the matrix, and became spiritual and found the magic K and God, divine within, and that truly everything is possible and that imagination animates reality, and it's all a dream/illusion. I have transcended the human condition. I learned to appreciate myself so much through these challenges, true grit for sure. Humans are taught to hate themselves and that they are incapable of handling themselves and that they can't know anything and to give their power away to the external. as the people around me abused me, told me I didn't deserve a good life or to have any of my needs met, that I had to give up who I am, and that I should conform and live a lie and have this role and identity forced upon me that doesn't reflect me at all and is the opposite of what I am. I only became more defiant and strong in who I am. I have struggled with pure OCD and intrusive thoughts/rumination/anxiety and have healed most of it. Honestly, can't even blame the monkey brain for having developed extreme anxiety when I was literally faced with my worst nightmares and faced such horrifying and disgusting circumstances. I once read in a book you have an emotional guidance system which tells you which path is right or not for you. Fear is a helpful indicator. And it's bringing to the surface the fears that probably made me fall into this undesired state in the first place. When I was at my most desperate and lowest, a simple question and the answer I found showed me the way and led to my first spiritual awakening. There is no way in this reality for me to get the life I want and need. Only something that would defy all the laws of physics needed to happen so I could ever experience happiness and fulfillment and get the life I want. So, I asked, is magic real? Do miracles exist? Are those witches onto something? The answer to these questions is yes. From then on I was allowed to dream and have hope.